For sure,
obviously
yeah.
it was the biggest area we've ever explored. I mean, acres upon acres of land.
But out of all the places we've been to, I think this was the most preserved abandoned location.
Yeah. This was probably the most things we have found in a building too.
For sure. What's up, guys? We're Decaying Ace. This is a new format. You're used to seeing us behind the camera, but we wanted to try something new. We have a lot of interesting stories with our explorers, and we wanted to kind of talk about them and give you guys some behind the scenes footage and some stories about them. So we're starting this new series where we're going to sit down and we're going to watch our videos and tell you guys some interesting stories that you've never heard before. So we hope you guys enjoy, and if you have any feedback, anything you want to see changed, then drop it in the comments below. Alrighty.
So I think the first thing that we should probably mention is that, first of all, we had already trekked an hour and a half to get here.
Yeah.
We had to sneak past an entire gravel yard. It's full of these huge, machines, and there were people driving around, dumping gravel and moving stuff and all that. But you can see we're going behind these coal piles. I mean, these giant coal piles, because literally, like maybe a football field away, there are people tearing down the buildings that we are going into. Like, we're watching them pull the roof off of a building as we're walking through those piles of coal.
Wasn't this like one of the only times we have ever explored somewhere while there were still personnel on the premises? I'm starting to think back just to how big this place actually was.
Probably one of the biggest we've ever been. Probably, like, overall size, probably the biggest area we've ever explored.
This is the only place that we've ever been where we missed whole buildings. Because we literally were there for like 4 hours. We filmed as much as we could. I mean, this was 4 years ago, so we didn't have extra batteries to go through. So once we were done, we were done.
It was just so hot. I mean,
that's one thing I remember.
So hot that day.
But I remember walking around and just seeing this machinery and just how truly massive this place was. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be worth it.
Yeah, I just feel like I need to point out too about the heat thing, but like when we went into this building, I mean, this is the first building that this is the very beginning of the Explorer, and we were already so hot that when we got to the top floor of this building, we took a break.
We did.
And that floor felt so good because it was cooled off, it was cement, and we sat in there for probably like 20 minutes.
And it was so dirty. I mean,
it was disgusting.
It was like, there's animal feces and dust.
Dust.
It's just so cool in here.
Yeah, and like the paint was decaying and falling onto the ground. And
I actually ended up, we can put this in the video, I have a selfie of all three of us on that top floor.
Do you really? I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
I have a couple of them actually. It's in, I actually use it in a few videos I made. But like, we all look, we're smiling, but we all look miserable. We are covered in sweat. I had on one of those stupid headlamps I used to wear. And so my hair is just pressed and smeared everywhere. Jeremiah's smiling like, I'm gonna kill both of these guys right now. They're both gonna die.
Is this area you had something that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think this is the area. This area is like the perfect case of nature versus man-made structure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like true urban decay. This is what we are always going for. I remember that being so ear-splittingly loud.
Yeah.
Oh.
Scared us all to death, too.
This place was one of my more favorite areas.
Yeah,
A lot of stuff that the workers left behind.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
The building later on that we went into, the offices and stuff, that's my favorite part of this place. But yeah, when we first walked in here and we saw how much was left, I really got a good sense of like what we were dealing with.
Yeah. When you're walking through and you're looking at everything, it's so easy to trip over something and you have no idea it's there. The amount of times that we've kicked pipes or tripped over stuff or stepped on nails, it's like you're just not even, you're so blown away by everything, you're not even paying attention to what you're walking on.
Yeah.
We could probably have a whole compilation of just us kicking things.
Yeah, tripping.
Yeah, and like, I don't want to pause it for this, but like, this stuff, especially this back room that we were in, is one of like, the blueprints, important documents, everything was left behind here. And I've had so many people message us about this place specifically because of all the stuff that's left behind. And we've only given this location to two or three, maybe 4 explorers, because this is like out of all the places we've been, this is one of our favorites, and we really like respect and value all of the, you know, how crazy it is that this stuff has just been there, and like we were one of the only people that have been there before this, you know.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of graffiti, there wasn't a lot of destruction. I mean, it was literally, the stuff was left how it was when they closed. So
It was a well-kept secret. Right?
yeah,
It
it's
really
just,
was.
I mean, it's crazy to see all the stuff that they left behind.
I'm sure that more people have found this place recently, but yeah, back at the time this was taken, from what I am aware of, not a lot of people had gotten here.
Yeah, we got an email from someone that used to work here about going back with us and showing us the spots that we missed and kind of giving us like a little impromptu tour
Right.
of the place while we explore. And we've just been so hesitant because getting here the first time was a trek enough, you know, going there and like one of our contacts recently went there and it was the same thing. I mean, they had to walk, they pretty much had to do what we did to get there. And so I'm just so hesitant to go back, but like I kind of want to go back to get better footage because watching this now, like knowing how we film now, it makes me upset that we didn't do more.
And that that the people watching just missed out on so much.
Yeah,
You know, we saw
yeah.
so much more. And when you say walk, we probably walked a mile, then we probably crawled.
We
yeah.
did. We
Yeah.
had to.
And I don't mean like kind of crouch. I mean crawled on our hands and feet.
I wish we would have taken a video, like on our phones or
Yeah.
something, of the stuff that we had to crawl through, but
Of course, I will have to pause it when my
yeah.
moment comes up.
You might even be able to see, but we are on like a cliff right now. There's a
Yeah.
river below us.
We
a
showed
big
it.
lake.
Yeah, we show it.
Yeah, there's something down there. I prefer I do it, brother. If you get hurt, I'll be okay.
Yeah,
Plus,
because
I'm lighter than you.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, Todd is the younger brother. Or
nice. Nice.
You see how offended he was? Todd is the older brother. He
Todd's
is
the older brother.
oldest brother.
And that's how crazy it is because even I forgot who was older.
Todd is older by 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was actually thinking about when I said that is like, I'll be okay. Obviously, I would definitely die too if I fell from this height. But my thought process was, if I die, Jeremiah won't get in as much trouble.
And
because
I can
he's the
carry you
younger
back
brother.
at least.
Yeah.
I don't think people recognize how shaky this building was too.
Oh,
and I'll
dude,
let you
this
talk a
thing
little
was
more about it.
swaying. And then this happened. Wait for it.
That conveyor belt, man. Crazy.
I just love, it's literally the perfect moment. It's like an office moment, you know? Like it's perfect. Like you pan the camera and the raccoon just nonchalantly walks across the way.
Because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that thing is out in the middle of the day, so may not be safe to be around it. And this building is already swaying. If that thing charges at me, I'm going to panic and just pitch myself right over the edge. Yeet.
Or run down the stairs and just fall right through.
But
Just tumble down the stairs.
explain why during the day it's a bit more of an issue.
Normally, raccoons are nocturnal animals, so if they're out during the day, it usually means they're sick, and usually that could be rabies, there could be any number of diseases, but rabies is probably the one I'm most afraid of.
We're up on our building in the back there.
Yeah, we made the very conscious decision to not go up into those
we
conveyor belts.
I do remember, I forget his name to this point, but I do remember that picture that initially led me to this place. Some dude had gotten up to the highest point of one of these things and just took a few pictures of the surrounding area. Great kid. I forget how many different environments,
Yeah,
quote unquote,
yeah, for sure.
were in this place too.
For
Every
those-
building was very different from one another.
For those that don't work in factories too, I work in a factory as a full-time job, but you'll notice that it's really green in that room, and that's because they have these panels that let in sunlight, but they keep water out, and so they had to use less lights. So that's why it looks super green in that building. Looks like you had a filter on or something.
Yeah.
But
This was my favorite part of the explore right here, is this building. Because, I mean, they literally just closed up one day and just didn't come back in. I mean, all of the documents and the computers and everything.
I remember thinking that this office looked like it was still almost worked in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we know the history of this place?
I couldn't find much on it.
We gotta get
I mean, I could find, like, you know, what they did when they closed, but that was about it.
That map was really cool.
Yeah.
I think there's something important to recognize here is Decaying Ace was not made yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This
Oh,
was when the
man.
channel was just my name.
Oh my lord. I almost forget that like a good chunk of our bigger videos took place during that time period.
And it's kind of stupid because a lot of times when we found like whiteboards or chalkboards, I wrote my full name because that was the channel name. And thinking back on it, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Oops.
Yeah.
if we ever go back, we'll have to find that, see if it's still there.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
wild, actually.
That would be crazy.
That would be nuts. I doubt it, but that would be crazy.
I should have asked our contact if she saw it. Because she did talk about how cool this building was, so.
Yeah, you'll hear me mention contacts a lot. For those that don't do urban exploring, you kind of, after you're in the game for a while and you've got some more notoriety, you start to get essentially an underground network of people that have been to buildings that are willing to trade with you.
Yeah.
It's kind of an unsaid thing, but like you don't just ask for locations. You trade locations and you add value so that other people will do the same for you.
Yeah. It's how we've been able to do as many places that we have recently.
It also, in a way, helps keep the building safe because if the other people have rapport, like, oh, they've clearly been to a lot of places, it doesn't look like
Yeah.
they've damaged anything. I mean, obviously, there's no way to control people or predict what they'll do, but usually someone who does this a lot will understand that it's not wise to vandalize. It's not a good idea to, like, bring anything you shouldn't to these places. So it's easier then to swap locations because you have some semblance of assurance that they're not just going to go trash the place.
Safer or burn it down, which
Yeah.
often is the case with delinquent kids. I forgot all the metal bars. The place was like cages. They were
Yeah,
like giant
yeah.
cages that you were walking through. It was kind of
This building was
odd.
confusing too because if you remember, the main door was locked, so we had to go around through that locker room.
That's a Xerox machine. A Xerox machine.
I forgot we had found that.
Funny enough, there wasn't a lot of broken porcelain, which is a very uncommon thing that we run into.
Right. Well,
normally.
we said too, like there wasn't a lot of graffiti and
Yeah,
destruction
there
because
wasn't.
not a lot of people have gone there.
It was
But
well protected place.
I'm surprised because I thought I showed more in the video, but we went through like a locker shower room to get to where we are now. And a lot of the lockers had like personal possessions in them still. I'm surprised I didn't show it. We probably didn't film it, but we found one locker and I have pictures of it, so I might add it and just blur it since I can blur it now. But at the time that I edited this, I didn't have the blur feature, so I just had to cut it. But there was a locker with a bunch of pinup pictures like taped to the door with like a bunch of like, you know, Playboy girls and stuff.
Adult content.
Yeah, and it was pretty funny. We had a good laugh, but yeah, there was like jackets and hard hats and, you know, personal stuff in these lockers. So
Photos of families.
yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I love finding stuff like that, stuff that tells the story of the people
Yeah.
who are in these places.
Yeah.
That's so cool to me.
What you guys don't see is that we get to look into people's past, you know what I mean? Which is a very rare occasion. We get a firsthand account of what their life used to look like.
I remember this big storage room. This place had a
Yeah.
ton of stuff in it.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was blown away when we saw this.
I remember being exhausted too at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
We took a break right there, didn't we?
I think we did.
We took a break earlier in the building, like after the office area, in the between area. But yeah, seeing all of these like the parts and stuff just sitting on the shelves still, that blew my mind.
This was a really good explore, honestly. Just as far as urban exploring goes,
Yeah.
this one was a lot of fun.
And again, this is another great example of why we don't share these locations, because there's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in scrap metal
Yeah,
there, and
for
people
sure.
will go in and destroy it. They'll steal everything, and we want to preserve this. I mean, this is history, right?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people ask, why don't you ever give out locations to keep them safe? It's a respect. We want to respect these places.
Seeing all of that, I don't know what you would call it, but
Piping.
like all of the industrial stuff is
This
cool.
was my favorite
Yeah,
moment.
this
You
was
guys were
crazy.
talking about your guys' right here. This huge, just open area with thousands of tons of metal.
And it's crazy because sound reverberates. It's like a tunnel, so it kind of bounces off, and we could hear people, those scrappers or construction workers in the distance. We could hear banging and voices because it just kind of echoes off of everything. So we kind of really had to be quiet and sneak through this open area to get to this huge, huge factory.
This building was cool. I don't remember where Todd was, but
Yeah.
it was me and Jay, and you joined us like way later on. But yeah, like all the piping and stuff, and like the narrow space was just really cool to look at.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Paint.
I saw that bag up there. I remember that. I remember how
that
scared
too,
I was,
bro.
dude, because
Oh,
I
man.
legitimately thought there was a person just waiting for us at the top of those stairs. Look at that.
That's pretty
It
bad.
looks like a person.
And your senses are so heightened.
Yeah.
You're just so
Yeah.
nervous all
Yeah.
the
It's
time.
like I was talking about earlier with the raccoon. Every little thing messes with your nerves when you're doing this.
Now, I will say too, we left this building for a couple reasons, because our batteries were dead. It was pretty late in the day. I mean, it was
Yeah.
after 5, and we left. One of the specific reasons that we left this building was because I had like a bad gut feeling. And if we've learned anything from urban exploring for 4 years, it's that when you get a bad gut feeling, you need to follow your feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a difference too. Like when you first start, you're going to be scared about certain things, but there's a difference between being scared about something and like having a gut feeling that something's not right. And every time that we've followed our gut feeling of something not being right, it ends up being, for the better. And when we were in this building, I remember we got all the way to the top, and I felt fine the whole time. But as soon as we got to the top where we're going now, I had this horrible feeling in my stomach that we needed to leave. And I told Jay and Todd that, and I walked down and waited for them.
Yeah, and we trust it because there's no need to push your luck with that stuff.
Yeah.
Again, we've been doing this for 4 years, so it's not like, it's like we do get a little nervous, but we've gone to a lot of places a lot more dangerous than this.
Yeah.
And when you get that feeling, you just let it go. So,
Yep.
and some people might
Yeah.
disagree and call us wimps, but we're gonna stick to our guns on that.
Oh,
So,
well, so you can call me a coward or a wimp all you want. It's my life.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
leaving when I feel like leaving.
Yeah.
I'll say too, as someone who has also had that feeling. In fact, I have a very vivid example from another big video we'll be doing soon. I'm not going to spoil what it is yet. It is not regular anxiety. The pit in your stomach feeling that Tommy is describing, you will know immediately, okay, something is wrong.
Yeah.
It's not even like, oh, I'm a little nervous. Something might go wrong. It's, if I do not get out of here right now, something bad is going to happen.
Right here is where I got that gut feeling. I remember looking down that and just my heart, like my stomach sank for some reason. I tried to go further because I thought I didn't want to be like, well, I'm just being a wimp, like I wanted to keep going and explore as much as possible. But yeah, it was like one of the strongest gut feelings I've ever had.
and it's just crazy because it stretches for so far. I don't even think we ever saw the end of it because it was just such a long building.
Yeah, see, I even said something to you
I do
about
now
it.
remember you getting real wide-eyed.
Yeah.
What proceeded?
So, ending thoughts. I mean, that's probably in my top 5, like of all time favorite explorers, and it'll be hard to beat it because it was just so massive. And I remember too. I have a picture of this, so I'll put it in. But I remember on our way there, we had to walk through the woods for like a mile. We walked like a mile through the woods. We parked so far away from this place.
Under a bridge.
Yeah, walked under a bridge through the woods down to the riverbed, and then we followed the riverbank all the way to this place. But once it got up to that gravel pit area, there was like the gravel pit, one line of trees, and then a straight drop off down to the river. So we had to like stay in between the line of trees and the gravel pit. There was like a little cement wall.
Yeah.
So we basically had to crawl on all fours the entire time.
It was probably like a 3 or 4 foot cement wall, so you would be
Yeah.
able to see pretty much the whole upper half of our bodies
Yeah.
if we had walked. So we crawled because we're like, we're here now. We're not
Yeah.
gonna give up.
But,
no way.
But I have a
man.
picture of like when we were halfway down, we took a break, and I took a picture of the factory in the distance. You could like see it across the river, and you could just see how massive it was. And I just remember thinking like, this better be worth it because this is insane.
Hey, this was probably the most things we have found in a building too.
For sure.
probably.
I
For
mean,
sure.
obviously,
Yeah.
it was the biggest area we've ever explored. I mean, acres upon acres of land, but in the buildings themselves, plural, multiple buildings, this was the most things that we had found untouched.
Yeah, I was.
We've been to schools, we've been to mega churches, we've been to malls, and by far, this was the most amount of artifacts that we found
Yeah,
in a place.
I think this was, but out of all the places we've been to, I think this was the most preserved abandoned location.
Oh, probably.
Because everything was left where it was, the computers, and I don't think I saw one piece of graffiti when
Yeah.
we were there.
So yeah, if you guys like this, we plan to do more content like this in the future and to upload it hopefully pretty consistently. We have a series on Gary, Indiana, one of the most miserable cities in the United States, and of course some of our larger explorers, whether that be factories, plants, water parks. So again, if you guys like it, check it out in the future. We'll have more content coming your way.
Yeah.